Hey, buddy, watch this.
Hello, Regis Kilman is the name, and Hearthstone is the game, and these are the 5 worst card reveals in the One Night in Karazhan adventure. I do not think these cards will see any form of competitive play other than perhaps some early playtesting, but they'll quickly fall right out of the meta and be forgotten. So let's go ahead and jump right into the list. Starting off with number 5, it is the Pompous Thespian. I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with this card. It's okay as far as stats are concerned. It has a positive effect in Taunt. It's an upgrade to a previous card that already existed by just adding 1 extra attack. That said, it doesn't do anything exciting, and I can't see it meaningfully contributing to any kind of deck. So it's not broken or bad or terrible. It's just not particularly playable, and that's why it's one of the most boring and unfortunately one of the worst cards in the entire set. Moving on to the number 4 spot, it is unfortunately a legendary card in Moroz. This is a 3-mana 1/1 that theoretically has infinite value because of its effect, but unfortunately, since it does have stealth and only 1 health, it's very, very susceptible to removal. And even in cases where you have a deck that's designed to buff the card and keep it in stealth forever, and keep it alive thanks to your buffs and out of area of effect damage attack ranges, so it won't die to Flame Strike, for instance, if you give it Blessing of Kings. Even in those instances, it's just so slow to generate value and only passively generates a 1/1 over time, and those 1/1s are still susceptible to area of effect removal in the future, and whirlwind effects are so common in the meta right now, particularly with cards like Ravaging Ghoul, that I just don't see a world where Moroz ever really generates enough value to make up for the loss in mana and tempo in the early game. So, theoretically a cool card, in practice, unplayable. Moving on to the number 3 spot, it is the Pantry Spider. This might look like a bundle of stats for 3 mana and that you get a total of 2/6, which is pretty cool compared to something like Carry On Grub. But unfortunately, 2 1/3s die much more susceptibly than would a 2/6, plus they don't trade very well either. A single 3/2 2-drop could kill both Pantry Spiders without any issue. There are perhaps some beast synergies, but I think this card's just a little bit too slow and low impact on turn 3 to even fit into beast decks that might want to abuse those beast synergies. There are better options for both Hunter and Druid, so I don't see a world where Pantry Spider ever sees any kind of play, outside of perhaps some Hobgoblin decks in wild format. Moving on to the number 2 spot, it is the Arcana Smith. This 4-mana 3/2 just doesn't do much. It summons a 0/5 taunt, but of course a 0/5 taunt dies for free to literally everything, and since this card doesn't trade effectively, it just kind of sits there and dies without accomplishing much, making it a very slow card for turn 4 that doesn't affect the board at all in any way, and essentially just gives your opponent a very easy and free way to waste 4 of your mana. This is basically a trash tier card that has no synergies and no reason to be played any whatsoever, perhaps outside of Arena, so I don't think Arcana Smith will ever be tested even in a competitive deck, and certainly we won't see this one shining anytime soon. And then finally, this will come as no surprise, the worst card in the One Night in Karazhan card reveal to me is far and away the Priest card Purify, and the Hearthstone community at large certainly agrees with me here. This Priest spell is actually almost actively bad, and that silencing a friendly minion is usually a negative effect, and you do get to draw a card, but Priest already has a card called Power Word Shield, which costs half as much mana, has a very positive effect, and still draws you a card. So outside of some very specific situations where you run a deck designed to have silenced minions that would still be bad, that's not going to be a good deck anytime in the near future. This card is completely unplayable and punishing to your deck and hurts what Priest is trying to accomplish, not to mention it's very slow as well. So Purify is outright bad, and not only is it bad, but it caused an uproar in the Hearthstone community to the extent that Purify is not even going to be available to be drafted in the arena. It's so bad. Hearthstone admitted it's so terrible that you can't even get it in arena because that would injure Priest as a class too much in that format. So even Hearthstone, the Blizzard gods themselves, seem to agree that Purify is far and away the worst card reveal in the One Night in Karazhan expansion. So that's going to wrap it up for my list. If you have any thoughts of your own or comments you'd like to share, you know where to leave them. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, game on.